Oh, it's all here.
This is all, okay, it's all,
Okay, yeah. But we need to fix, yes, but you, hold on, there were two,
these go out.
okay. Someone else is gonna read
That's
this.
you.
We just need to say silly, who are as silly as Brussels sprouts. Let me just get a pen.
You don't happen to have a pen in your pocket, do you?
Love your pen.
Roger's got his, so that's good.
Information. I am streaming right now, and you're going out right on the
Oh, I'm
camera.
so sorry. I'm sorry. Hi. Sorry about that.
Let's get this over here.
The reverend.
Tony.
You don't happen to have a printer.
No.
Okay, that's fine.
No. So, You can control the volume of the microphone. Once the bathroom break is done, we're probably ready to go. Did you live here full time? Where are you from? Okay. Okay. There's a lot of family ties. Oh, wonderful. Hello. He's a youthful AV guy. Well, we're Midwesterners as well. Kansas City. Yeah. I'm always a big fan. I'm a big sports fan, but I just love any mid-major city that does what I'm always happy about. Cheer for They've got a good team. So we're ready to take that one.
Good afternoon. We'd like to call our attention to the celebration of life for Jean Landry. And we just thank you for coming and showing your support to the family. And what a bright sunny day for Jean, and we're happy about that. It's a little cold by our standards, but our visitors think it's pretty pleasant today. So First of all, I'd like to recognize our Airstream folks that have been involved with the Landry family. Just raise your hand, show us a count of 28 years worth of Airstream community together. If you've been part of that group, let's see your hands. What a great testimony to friendship. So thank you very much.
Yes.
Your family is surrounded by many friends here today. We would like to begin by just a moment of silence as the candles are lit for Jean up front, and then the family's going to take you through some memories and some obituary to get to know her activities that she took part in. And we'll want to give you an opportunity to share a memory yourself. That's always healing for us as we deal with our loss as well as the family. So sharing is good for healing. We'll invite you a little bit later to bring a memory of Jean. Let us observe a moment of silence and light our candles in tribute to Jean. At this time, we'll have the family come forward and share memories of Jean.
Those of you who want to follow along in the memorial booklet can, and give me your notes on my mispronunciations later on. Jean Coster Landry was 76 years old. How's that for the hearing impaired? 76 years old and a resident at this time of Dade City, Florida. She passed away Sunday, August 20th at home, surrounded by her family. Jean and Bob moved to Dade City in 2016 from Coventry, Connecticut, where they had lived for 33 years. Jean was born in North Carolina and grew up all over the world. I recently heard that she didn't live in the U.S. until she was in high school. College? Okay, till she was in college. It's amazing. She was articulate and fluent in English. She lived in Virginia, which is not an English-speaking place. Vietnam, Korea, Iran, Nigeria, Switzerland, and the Philippines. She was an artist and worked as an art therapist at the Institute of Living in Hartford, Connecticut, teaching arts and crafts to the mentally ill and applying herself to jewelry, photography, leatherwork, weaving, knitting, crocheting, painting, and sewing. Just couldn't make up her mind. In the most recent years, she focused on watercolor and sketching portraiture. She was to our family anyway, a distraction at every entertainment event while she sat there with her sketch pad. And you can see some of the products of her attendance at those entertainment events. She was a lover of brightly colored fabrics, hats, and clothing. In retirement, Jean belonged to knitting and quilting clubs in Dade City. She loved her family and was a devoted mother, always trying to help advance her children and caring for those of others, including, I suspect, some of Paige's friends. She was an avid cook, a proponent of eating healthy, and left behind a slew of recipes ranging from grain salads to sloppy joes to persimmon pudding
Yes.
in very, very limited geographic areas where you can actually find persimmon. She'll be dearly missed by her husband of 40 years, Robert, son Zachary, Elmar, Landry. I don't know why spouses get parenthesized, but daughter Paige, Randy, Lovelace, and her 3 granddaughters, Xiomara, Mara, Landry, and Lennox, the 3 beauties who are in the front row, an extended family. She was preceded in death by her sister Nancy Bushy Schneideker in lieu of flowers. Please send donations to the Daystar Hope Center. I would just add that Jean was also bushy to her grandchildren, and I guess some others. That's it.
Let us give thanks for generous friends with hearts as big as Hubbard's and smiles as bright as their blossoms. For feisty friends as tart as apples. For continuous friends who, like scallions, keep reminding us that we had them. For crotchety friends as sour as rhubarb and as indestructible. For handsome friends who are as gorgeous and as eggplant and as elegant as a row of corn. And others as plain as potatoes and so good for you. For funny friends who are as silly as Brussels sprouts and as amusing as Jerusalem artichokes. And serious friends as complex as cauliflowers and as intricate as onions. For friends as unpretentious as cabbages, as subtle as summer squash, as persistent as parsley, as delightful as dill, as endless as zucchini, and who, like parsnips, can be counted on to see you through the winter. For old friends, nodding like sunflowers in evening time, and young friends coming on as fast as radishes. For loving friends who wind around us and hold us despite our blights, our wilts and witherings. For children who are our second plantings, and though they grow like weeds and the wind too soon blows them away, may they remember fondly where their roots are. And finally, for those friends now gone, like gardens past that have been harvested, but who fed us in their times that we may have life thereafter. For all of these, we give thanks.
Yeah, the 3 of you. Here. Just
Please, Mike. Welcome, everyone, and thank you to Anthony and Rose for guiding us today to help make this. To help make this celebration possible. Jeez. We gather here to celebrate the life of a truly remarkable woman, our beloved mom. There's a lot of self-inflicted pressure and energy and angst that goes into preparing a eulogy. As many know, it can be hard to find the right words. But the truth is that our mom, Jean Bushy, she's an easy person to celebrate. As you heard, Mom was a humble woman who had a unique upbringing. Growing up internationally, she lived in more than 30 homes across numerous countries before attending Beloit College in Wisconsin. Her diverse background shaped her into an extraordinary person that we knew and loved. During our childhood, she clearly emphasized her value of diversity in our lives, encouraging us to be open to new opportunities, new friends, new foods, and the like. Beginning in her college years, Mom developed a passion for working with her hands, whether it was making healthy and delicious food for her family, knitting scarves or baby blankets, watercoloring, or ink sketching during Sunday night entertainment. She poured her time and energy into these activities. She produced beautiful works, some of which we've collected here to share with you today. But they are all throughout our homes, too. Her creations were a testament to her creativity and talent. One of the things that defined Mom was her patience. She was never in a rush. She liked to take her time with everything she did. And for better or for worse, I've inherited some of those traits. Sometimes this made us crazy. But it was this quality that allowed her to savor the little moments in life, appreciating beauty in each passing day. She had a great appreciation for and love for the little details in things, often musing over her findings in long, much-loved text messages. These messages were sometimes so long I had to wait till my lunch hour to read them. And these are one of the most glaring quiet spots we experience in her absence. Mom understood the value of friendship and loyalty. Despite the challenges that came with frequent moves as a child, she knew the importance of maintaining relationships. Her respect for the camaraderie of her friends was inspiring. She spoke highly of them and treasured the joy that she found in their company. Her knitting group here was especially dear to her heart. More than one of those long text messages ended with, "We had so much fun chatting, I didn't knit a single stitch." To wonder how she got these things done. As an aside, the companionship she found in this community was monumental. Hey Lenny, I need that tissue back. The residents here greatly impacted her quality of life, and we are so grateful that she spent her final years in this neighborhood. Through her initial breast cancer diagnosis and treatments, the visitors, the encouragement, the prayers, and the good energy brought her strength. And she reported that to us regularly. For those of us who were far away from her during that time, we knew that she was in a good place. Through her illness and passing, we're so appreciative of your continued support. So thank you for being wonderful friends, neighbors, teachers, and peers to her. Mom's curiosity was one of her classic traits. It was boundless. She had an insatiable thirst for knowledge and for hearing other people's stories. Whether it was anecdotes, travel reports, knitting tips, or recipes, Mom was always interested and engaged. She believed everyone had something valuable to share, and she had the patience to listen. She embraced these conversations with an open heart. Perhaps this is where she had the deepest impact on our upbringing. Her openness encouraged us to share our experiences and to speak the truth. She knew how to make people feel welcome and never ostracized. She was a mother to many, several of whom are here today. Today, as we bid farewell to our amazing mom, let's not mourn her loss, but instead celebrate the incredible life that she lived. Let us remember her as a woman of humility, patience, and curiosity. May her spirit inspire us to cherish the simple joys, to nurture our friendships, and to always remain interested in the world and the friends around us. Thank you.
Hang out there if you want. Want to stay here? Stay here. Hi, everyone. I'm Gene's son, Zach, and I want to talk a little bit about what the message would be that we should take away from Gene's life. So, bring this up a bit. I might need a tissue in a second. Gene, she had a long and she had a varied life, and lately we've been going through her belongings, and I realized there was a lot about her that I didn't know about, and particularly about her life before I was born. And so now I've seen a lot of this through photographs. I always knew that she was interested and talented in many things, and only some of these, such as cooking or gardening, might have rubbed off on me. And so she was an interested person throughout her whole life. And there's a mountain of things I'll probably never know about her. But this doesn't really matter. And the way I remember Jean is not as an interesting person, which she was, but as my mom. And as someone who was reliable and always there. And I don't have much regret about the way she left us. I don't think she did either. I think she basically went out on her own terms. And the strangest part of this, and the strangest part of not having her around for the last few months, is that sometimes I'll forget that she's gone. And for a second I'll remember something that I should tell her, or I think of something I should ask her the next time I talk to her on the phone. And so, something I should ask her about the next time I talk to her on the phone. And so, because of this, the things I like to tell her about have become increasingly apparent. And a lot of these are recipes or gardening tips, but a lot of them these days are about my daughter Mara, who's over there. And now she's turning out. And so my mom got to meet Mara in the weeks before she died, but I wish she'd kind of spent a lot more time with her. This is the part where you're supposed to drink water. Public speaking, you're supposed to take a drink of water. That's better. So, I've come to realize that Jean, my mom, as a person, was probably the basis for my concept of kindness in the world. And this is not something I think is unique. I think most people probably have this. But I do think Jean was especially nice, and she was genuinely friendly and helpful as a default to almost everyone she met, even if she did get sick of people over time. Some people over time. I've noticed that this is a trait that's also becoming exceedingly rare in the world, and exceedingly rare in people that I meet. In the world we live in, kindness of this type is almost considered a personality flaw, and open offerings of trust or hospitality are often considered to be naive. I think that she recognized the shift in the world, and I'm convinced that this has taken place over my lifetime. And so a lot of the things she would rail against or obsess over were people trying to take advantage of this type of trust. So, and having your basis for kindness in the world suddenly disappears unsettling. Jean was nice.
even with regard to the cancer that killed her. And a lot of people told me since I've been here that she was brave, and I think this is true, or that she was tough, and I think this is true. And she never once acted scared when she was sick. But I'm not sure that this was bravery in the traditional sense. I don't think there are a lot of choices in how you can act or feel when you're faced with terminal disease. And it can basically make you scared, or it can make you angry, or you can carry on doing what you normally do. And so she kept being nice.
More water.
Somebody's charity being taken out.
What? She get a bigger glass. So, she kept being nice. And so bravery is acting in spite of fear, and I don't know if she was really ever scared, but there wasn't really any other way to be. And I think she thought that kindness shouldn't be contextually relative, but it should be the default. And so for the last week my mom was alive, she was cracking jokes and trying to be as helpful as she could in regard to her own illness. So, somewhere in here there's a joke about men marrying women that are like their mother. But I absolutely married my wife because she was kind. Now I have a daughter who at times looks a lot like Jean in some pictures. And she's turning out to be very nice also, which makes me glad. And we don't really have to teach her to be nice, which is kind of amazing to me. She's become really good at eating solid foods. And she has a habit where she'll periodically hand half her food to me for no reason. And I don't usually want it, and I will always give it back to her, but I appreciate the gesture. And so neither my wife or I explicitly taught this. And she started doing this before she could speak or even comprehend well enough to be taught. And so this is something she started doing on her own, and she was sharing by default. And so it's kindness by default. And I can't help but hope that this was somehow passed naturally from my mother to me, and then to her as a value or a trait. And these days it gives me a little hope for humanity, and lets me believe that the reason we're all still here is because we have a deeply ingrained desire to get along with each other. And so be nice.
That's great.
Hello. I brought a drink because I learned something from Zach. My name's Courtney. I have known Paige and Bob and Jean and Zach since I was 14 on my very first day of high school at Northfield Mount Hermon. And Paige and I have been very good friends ever since. And when thinking about what to say today about Jean, a million stories came to mind. But just listening to Paige speak about her mom, the best thing I can say about her is that she gave me Paige. And everything that you love about your mom, I see in you. You are very slow. And you never rush. But I love that about you. I know if we have to leave in a half an hour, we have to give Paige an hour. But it's a beautiful thing. The patience that Jean had, you have. The listening skills you have are from Jean. And she was interesting and unique and loved life, and so do you. And I'm just forever grateful to Bob and Jean that you brought her to NMH so that I could have a friend like you. And we'll miss you very much.
follow here. In 1965, the Byrds released the song Turn, 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 reminding us that as stated in Ecclesiastes 3:1-4, there is a season, a time for everything. A time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance, a time to be born, and a time to die. And upon hearing of my friend's passing, I was drawn to that passage and those lyrics. I knew Jean to be so highly creative. Her artwork and her crafts were absolutely beautiful. And my confession, I was so envious of this woman and her talent and her ability to make the vision transition into reality. Yet whenever we had an opportunity for her to share her work and for me to go ooh and ah, she would just poo-poo me, trying to convince me that I could do it too. And then we both laughed because we both knew that it was just not in the cards for fungal fever rosier. I could not knit a thing but a knot. That's all I ever got. But I think that Jean showed me a life well lived. And I say that because she went through so many things in her life. And she accomplished so many things. And maybe some of those things might not put her in the history books. But people genuinely loved Jean. And Jean genuinely loved people. And for me, in my estimation, that's major accomplishment. And we also know that ideals and qualities and goodness are passed on through generations. And we touch lives in profound ways. Jean, as a woman of quality, passed on those qualities. And you can see it visible in the lives of her children and her grandchildren every day. She touched many, many lives for many, many years. And those of us here at Travelers Rest were very blessed to have Jean here. And I know that we're all going to remember for a long time her talents and that quick sense of humor and that infamous smile that would appear as she joyfully and playfully would zing you without you ever even realizing that she had zinged you. She zinged me all the time, and I just said, oh boy, she's good, and I'm going to get her one day, but no, it didn't happen because she was just right on it. So today, all I can say about my friend is that I'm going to miss her and all the things that she did here to make Travelers Rest the quality place that it is. And I'm going to encourage all of us here to just latch on to what Jean left you. Her heritage of goodness and gentleness and kindness and humor. Remember all the wonderful things about her and then amplify them in your own lives. Celebrate her life well lived, and that will assure that your life will be well lived too. Thank you, Jean, for touching my life. And I will always be grateful for sharing the time that we had together. I know that there are people here who've known Jean here, and the opportunity is open for you to share your memories with us today. So I invite you to come forward.
We do invite you to come forward, to come to the microphone, because there are folks watching out of state on our live stream today, so they want to be able to pick up the voice. So I know it's a little intimidating, but if you could just make the effort to come up and share your memory.
I've only been here 4 years, but Jean was one of the first people I met. And I didn't know that she was a kindred spirit, but she certainly was. If I could direct your attention to her quilt block over in the window. First summer I was here, our dear friends Sheila and others were helping people get together and make quilt blocks, signs to put in front of their house. And there are many of them around that are just beautiful. And I walked through as they were doing it, and I'm sorry to say I didn't do one because I don't stay in the lines very well. But Jean was gonna do one, but she was just sitting there, and boy, she wasn't making any decisions at all. But I went over and looked, and the colors that were available to Jean and I and others were white and black and yellow, orange, pink, green, blue, turquoise. But Jean said that wasn't quite right. And I was raised by an artist, so I knew a kindred spirit when she said she thought burnt umber, deep alizarin crimson, burnt orange, and parchment would be the better colors. And I said, yes, I love discordant hues. And she said, oh, me too. And she and I both knew what we were talking about. So I'm surprised, but she did stay in the lines beautifully on that one.
After Zach and Paige, I hope I don't need the tissue. we were airstreamed with the Landrys. And one of the first times they were at an airstream rally, all of us know how Jean took her time about doing everything. So I don't know where Zach ever got his speed. Paige was a little more refined. She would be in the estuaries in this Hammonasset State Park looking for frogs, tadpoles, snakes, whatever she could come up with. Zach had better plans. Canadian geese. They would be flocks of them around everywhere. Zach is the only person I know that ran down and caught a Canadian goose. And this is a true story. And this guy was so proud of that, he walked it around everywhere holding it to show everybody what he did. So to the Landry family, there was many stories whenever we camped that went on, but we don't have time for all of them. Thank you for you and your family and Jean.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and share before we close? I love the spirit that's in the room today. My memory of Jean, of course, I'm the lawn caretaker over at the Landry's home, and I had to be careful when I go around the corner with the tractor because Jean could pop up just about out of anywhere. And so I had to ratchet the speed down. But she was out there in the most intense summer heat, a big straw hat like me. And if you look at her property, I always joke with Bob that you can eat a full course meal out of their backyard. And they even skeeped out the drainage ditch down below that we mowed down for water drainage, and it's beautiful. And there are blooming plants that you and Jean have put in all year round. So no matter what season we're in, there's always something growing. So she had that knack of beautifying what land she had, and beautiful. And the frost often worried me because I thought, well, there's a lot of things in that yard that's going to disappear. And some things did, but then Jean and Bob had a way of bringing whatever back. I would come back a few weeks later with the mower, and there was a plant there where one had been destroyed. So Jean had a wonderful spirit. I always drank Gatorade on those hot days, and she didn't like that I did that, so she gave me a concoction of her own one day, and it brought me through that hot day. So she was a nurse caretaker as well, and she was a park mom that I consider her. So, but she fought right up till that last day that she was conscious, and she was in the yard a few weeks before that, doing what she did, and she just loved life and grabbed every opportunity to share that. And her grandchildren, her children, her friends that are here today have expressed that, and Jean was just a wonderful lady. Let's go ahead and conclude this service here today. This is a celebration of where we gather together for fellowship now, and many Airstream folks are familiar with that, so we're going to ask you to take your chair and just go behind the table. There's refreshments out. And what a wonderful testimony to her friendship that you being here today. And I invite you to take a look at the artwork up here that she did. Many of these pictures, she would sit in the entertainment on Sunday nights and sketch the artist. That's what's up on the board up there. And take a look at the black and white photo her daughter put together. Wonderful photos of the early days of Jean. So you'll get to know a lot about her in those photos. But let's conclude here today, and we'll just take your chair and go behind, and we'll begin the fellowship part at this time. Thank you for coming, and don't forget there's some memory cards in the back as you exit, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
There's a song as we break up, right? One of her favorite songs? Okay, let's listen to that and then transition to fellowship.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon
this time, on behalf of the TR Church Association, Rose, myself, my dad, and all of our Airstream family here, we wrap our arms around your family.